Hi everyone, Royal Anderson here, or Minister Tupac, or both. Anyway guys, my name is Royal Anderson and here's my song Story for King Eternal. So I just want to say that I am excited to do this. I haven't done this before. This is my first time. Shout out to my creative director and my makeshift PA, Esther Demo, because this was her idea. Usually people do a song story when a song is out and people listen to it. But I wanted to have this out before the song drops. And the reason for this is because I wanted to have everyone come into my space, the creative space the song came from, like the emotions I had in the song and, the thoughts I had while the song was being put out. And for this song, I'd like to give a shout out to my lead pastor, LDA. You're gonna find out why, because I think literally every song I write somehow comes from him. And I'd like to give a special shout out to my music director in 2021, Samuel 2. I'm gonna tag him in this video just so he sees it. I already planned I was not gonna cry for this song because while recording the song, I had to deal with a lot of emotions. So I plan to not cry in this video or be so emotional. So walk with me. So I wrote King Eternal in 2021. 2021 was a year for me. It was a low year. Not because of anything, but in 2021, I dealt with a side of myself that I hadn't dealt with before. It was a really low year where I'd made terrible decisions and then there were repercussions and then I was dealing with condemnation and guilt and it spiraled out into so many things. Basically, I had an unhealthy life spiritually, emotionally. I felt it was my fault. Of course, it was my fault, but I felt like everything going on with the guilt to the condemnation, I deserved it, so I didn't pray to God for it. My close friends at that time would bear witness that I was so low emotionally. I was battling. I didn't pray. I spent nights crying. I couldn't sleep at night. It almost felt like pseudo-depression anyway. And then I didn't pray to God. I never prayed. I didn't ask God. I didn't speak to God. I just dealt with it on my own. I felt like I deserved it actually. So I just kept going through the cycle of everything over and over again. I remember having this conversation with my pastor. So I went to when I cried out. And then he asked me, he said, have you cried to God? And I said, no. And then he goes, so go cry out to God. And so I went home this one time and I was crying to God and I was saying, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done this. I'm sorry, forgive me, Lord, I'm so sorry. And I was crying for hours and I was just praying. And I wasn't saying anything. I could barely say any word, but I was just crying and my heart was so broken in that moment. I remember nights I had to do with not being able to sleep. I remember sharing my friends, then I would try to sleep. And when I try to sleep for a while, I just have a dream where I'm basically just in a dark place, just falling. Then I get out of sleep and I just start crying. It's like I felt so lost for that period of time. But I remember after crying out to God, I remember the first night that I'd gone to bed and that same thing happened. But the beautiful story was, then a hand caught me. And then after that moment, I slept. My whole life changed. It's like I started healing. I started recovering emotionally, physically, spiritually. Everything started moving. It's almost like I wanted to treat myself with what I did deserve or what I felt like I did deserve. But then there was a God who looked at me and said, I'm going to give you something else. I'm going to show you mercy. So I went to church on this Sunday and I was just sitting in the audience. And then my music director back then was on the keyboard and he was just playing. And then my pastor goes, now to the King Eternal, immortal, invisible God. The moment he says, I remember the moment he said those words, my heart swelled up. I think that's the best that I could use. My heart swelled up and literally I started humming, the song. And I was humming the song, so I took a record. I recorded myself humming the song on my phone. So when church was over, I ran to my music director. I'm like, Esther, you were playing something. He couldn't even remember what he was playing. So I played it for him and he was playing it and I just kept singing, to the King Eternal, mortal, invisible God. So I kept humming the song and he kept playing. And then I wrote the verse from the song. Part of the verse says, I found a person, mercy is his name. I found a being, mercy is his name. The one who is never counting my sins against me or my flaws against me. And the purpose of King Eternal is the story of a God so merciful, so kind, so loving, and of a boy that did himself so undeserving. But with how much he could think of himself as undeserving, much more could God show him that he deserved every ounce of love just because God loves him, and that was enough reason for God to give it to him. So this song is for everyone or for folks that struggling with condemnation, struggling with guilt, trying to get out of a dark place, or you're blaming yourself for the decisions you've made. There's a God out there who loves you way more than you can condemn yourself, way more than you can think evil on yourself. He loves you far above all the guilt and the shame that your heart can process. You should run to the Father. And that's what the song is for. I felt that mercy, I felt that love. And I have a hope that everyone that listens to the song can come into that place where they just look back into their life and they just say to themselves, man, what a merciful God. So yeah, so that's King Eternal. I think also a vulnerable moment. But I really hope you enjoyed the song because I really put part of myself into that song. And I hope it's a good listen for all of you. So love you guys. Thank you for supporting. I hope you share. I hope it blesses you. Have a lovely day, guys. Out.